In the wake of the Roe v. Wade decision coming out of SCOTUS and the decision to overturn that 50-year precedent, one would imagine that Democrats in office have some kind of response, a coordinated effort, maybe a legislative plan, something. And the answer to that is no, they don't actually. I'm checking my notes and it turns out there is nothing. Instead, we're getting a lot of finger wagging. Actually, Democratic leaders are telling their constituents that they need to, quote, vote harder. And here was what President Joe Biden had to say in the wake of the decision.
Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose and the balance that existed is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. This fall, Roe is on the ballot, and with your vote, you can act. You can have the final word.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. President, who we voted for a short 2 years, less than 2 years ago. So that's the president putting the onus for this, not on the Senate, not on someone named Senator Joe Manchin, but on voters, and claiming that if only we expanded the number of Democrats in Congress, he swears up and down that something will happen. Here is Representative Nancy Pelosi, who has been in Congress for quite a long time, who had a similar message to Joe Biden's. Take a look.
This cruel ruling is outrageous and heart-wrenching, but make no mistake, again, it's all on the ballot in November.
Great. Cool, fun. What are you gonna do with that power when we give it to you? I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on this line. Are you inspired by this, Ben? Does this move you?
I mean, not the speaking style for sure. I think that it's about time that our leaders learned, and I use leaders very lightly, that they need to start firstly using small words in every respect. You can't say to codify Roe. No one knows what codify means. Nobody who's not already voting for human rights knows what the word codify means. You can't say Roe is on the ballot. People are gonna think, what do you mean, rowboats? You gotta say human rights are on the ballot. Women's rights are on the ballot. Start using language like the Republicans use, visceral, easy to understand and digest language. But that said, I don't know, short of literally twisting Joe Manchin's arm and Kristen Sinema's arm to carve out the filibuster for reproductive rights, there is nothing that they can do. So I do agree that the only way to do it is in the ballot box in November. But the messaging, you're very right, Francesca, has to be even so much sharper there. What's the specific plan? They act as though these things are surprises all the time. It's the same thing that after Buffalo, Biden came out and said, we gotta do something. You've been in Congress 59, 69, 79 years. You don't know exactly what the plan is at this point? Know what the plan is. So let me just put it more simply for them. We literally need just 2 more Democratic senators who can take Republican seats in November, who will pledge to do a carve out of the filibuster for reproductive rights, and then we will be able to codify it into law or make it law. Make it law, not codify. And then if you're afraid that one of them is gonna back out, we need 10. We need 10 seats to get these backwards idiots who are trying to take us back so they can win elections more and put more money in their coffers themselves by manipulating their own base. We need 10 of them kicked out, and then we for sure will be able to pass anything and make it the law of the land that women have a right to privacy of what they do with their own bodies between them and their own healthcare providers.
Yeah, well said. And to say nothing of also the other things like expanding the court, because if we have this court,
yes,
and Roe v. Wade and the abortion rights are made law, what's to prevent this current extremist Supreme Court from striking that law down? Jessica, what are your thoughts on this tack?
Yeah, am I inspired by this? Absolutely not. For leadership to inspire people, they really need to talk about the problems with the gravity and scale that they actually exist. And we never get that from the Democratic establishment ever. I mean, if we looked at the citation in the Dobbs ruling that everyone was talking about on Twitter, where they go on about the domestic supply of infants, this really is an issue that's about white supremacy just as much as it's about class and patriarchy. You have people talking about how there weren't enough white babies to adopt, and then we have this influx of immigration of people who are non-white. This is very much about white replacement theory. We hear a lot of think pieces coming out from the right about how we need abortion. It's necessary because of this phenomena, because of replacement theory. And the Democratic establishment isn't acting like we have the growing presence of fascism among people in power and among the general public in the United States. And we really need them to act like that. I think we should have the Supreme Court justices stand for election. When's the last time we amended the Constitution? We don't have a democracy if 5 people are making a decision that the majority of people in our country disagree with. And so they're really not acting like a true opposition party that just won a majority election. And so we can't really expect heroism from them in this moment. We really need to go back to our communities and have solidarity. I mean, a lot of people are sharing resources now, like Ben just mentioned, people are mailing out contraceptives and abortion pills. That's huge. We need to realize that the social contract has been broken. They're passing laws that the majority of people don't support. And when you have that as the case, people can take charge, they can take power, and then the laws are pretty much just things that some dude wrote on paper when the social contract is broken like it has been.
It's not even just the majority, it's the vast majority. And it is tyranny of the minority, because we are not, it's just so sad that we even have to see ourselves as the opposition party when we are in power and have the majority of all 3 branches of all 3 of both houses of Congress and of the White House, not all 3 branches, unfortunately, but we have the majority of the branches and still can't do anything. It's because these workaround rules are killing any ability to let the majority rule in this country, let the will of the people rule. And we also have to be sure, again, with words and phrasing and having strategy that actually can prevent these things from happening further and can reverse some of these horrible things. We need to stop falling victim to their phrasing. Don't even, when talking about expanding the court, ever again say the words packing the court. Why would you use a phrase that sounds like you're cheating? It's not, it's been done several times in the history of America. We've changed number of Supreme Court justices. We can expand it, and that's just a phrase that doesn't seem scary. And they can say, look, they're trying to cheat. Enough of us losing and being so weak.
Yeah, same with the phrases pro-life as well. It needs to be anti-choice. I hope we all by now know that it is not about being pro-life. It is about being against the right to choose. But I did want to talk about one Democrat who weighed in, who did not see the irony in lamenting the day. Senator Joe Manchin has responded to the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade in a sort of a disappointed, I guess, statement, but one that he does not mean a single word of. So let's just read this. He writes, "I'm deeply disappointed that the Supreme Court has voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. It has been the law of the land for nearly 50 years and was understood to be settled precedent. I trusted Neil Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh when they testified under oath that they also believe Roe v. Wade was settled legal precedent, and I'm alarmed they chose to reject the stability the ruling has provided for 2 generations of Americans." Was he tricked? Did he get tricked? Oh, that's too bad. I wonder then why, if he believes in the right to choose, why he was the only Democrat that didn't vote for the Women's Health Protection Act, all right? Now, this is obviously a bill that it would have guaranteed federal abortion rights. It failed in May. This is a bill that would not have passed the Senate so long as that filibuster is still in place, which again, we know Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are unwilling to budge on because, God, their corporate donors really don't want them to. But that was just a fun little slice. Does anyone believe that anyone should be surprised by Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and Kavanaugh's decision. Jessica, is this?
No, Trump promised this. He said in a clear debate when he was asked, are you going to appoint justices that are going to overturn Roe v. Wade? He said yes, that all three of them will. And I remember back to Gorsuch's first hearing, it was like, he's so eloquent, he says he's gonna uphold precedent, he's so even-tempered. And what did he do? He voted to overturn Roe. Donald Trump promised that every single nominee would do this. We cannot be surprised. And the precedent, by the way, that they are upholding is not Roe. And I don't think they ever meant Roe when they said they were down for upholding precedent. The precedent they're upholding is white landowning men being in power in this country, let's be real.
Yes, and even-tempered people, you can never trust them. They're always they're always planning something behind there. What do they say about serial killers? He was very mild-mannered, he was even-keeled. Yeah, because they got all kinds of psycho plans happening in their head. You want people that can't control their emotions, because then you see their real beliefs. People that speak in these very controlled ways, I don't trust them as far as I could throw them.
So another person I don't trust as far as I can throw her, but I wouldn't throw her. We talked about Nancy Pelosi a little bit more. I just want to remind everyone, Nancy Pelosi did campaign for Representative Henry Cuellar in Texas, did not endorse Jessica Cisneros. Cuellar is anti-choice, but Nancy Pelosi decided to stick by his side. And that's not actually that much different than what Pelosi has been signaling to her own party for a very long time now. After Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, this is how she felt about pro-choice Democrats. She writes, this is in an interview to the Washington Post, the Democratic Party should not impose support for abortion rights as a litmus test on its candidates. House Minority Leader Pelosi said Tuesday because it needs a broad, inclusive agenda to win back the socially conservative voters who helped elect President Trump. This is the Democratic Party. It's not a rubber stamp party. Yes, but if you want Medicare for all, you're out. You're out. Just to continue that, she continued to say, this is really rich. You guys have to all pay attention to how rich this is. She argued that Democrats cannot afford to enforce an ideological test on the abortion issue. Quote, in our caucus, one thing unifies us, our values about working families. Some people are more or less enthusiastic about this issue or that issue, but they'll go along with the program. But their enthusiasm is about America's working families. If you think that abortion rights has nothing to do with working values and working class rights, you're sorely mistaken. If you think this is a culture war, you're sorely mistaken. Talk to a mom working a full-time job right now who maybe doesn't have money for healthcare, maybe doesn't have money for her own healthcare, for childcare or for healthcare. This is a class issue, don't get it twisted. Should this be a litmus test, you guys? We're in the year 2022.
Should human rights be a litmus test? I vote yes. I vote we should support equal human rights for all people, not just half the people. That's my weird out of the box opinion. I don't know if it throws you off.
How can she say this isn't a litmus test, but then immediately today use this for fundraising, say in her press conference, you absolutely can't vote Republican. Why are we voting for Democrat if it's not guaranteed that all Democrats are going to be pro-choice? I mean, come on, that's really, really obvious. And why is she talking about voting in this moment? Why is she talking about you need to vote for Democrats? That's the solution to this. There are so many months before the election where there's legislation you can pass to make things safer for the women in these red states. How about you start talking about that and you serve your constituents and actually do something to earn those votes? But it's never about that for the Democratic Party. They're essentially a placeholder in power. They're not going to do much in the short term or the long term either. And they're pretty much there to keep the neoliberal order intact. That's definitely what Nancy Pelosi is there for. There are some good Democrats who are progressives, but that's certainly what the establishment is there to do.
Thank you so much for saying that. That is such an important point. Instead of using these months, these precious months to do nothing, why not at least try and keep people safe? Why not even do the things that we've been doing? talk about PlanC.org, talk about the National Network of Abortion Funds, which people should and can donate right now to. Abortion Access Front is doing massive trainings on July 17th. I just want to shout that out.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.